5, 4, 3, 2, counted the red-faced man. "What the is wrong with you?" he yelled at my partner. There was that day. There was the day when someone threw the credit card machine at him, which I guess could have been funny because there was a plastic shield between the customers and the cashiers. There was the day that a customer called the cops on a cashier because he did not get the discount he thought he was eligible for, but wasn't. There was the day when a customer called my partner a derogatory word over and over again, aggressively came at him around the counter, causing another customer and another employee to step between them. The man finished off the assault with, "I don't like how you're staring at me. I'll meet you out back." There was the day Joe was verbally attacked. Well, that happens almost every day. Then there are the regular threats to call the manager and have him fired. Though this is an empty threat because the management doesn't care either way. They're generally not cruel to the employees, but they're not supportive either. A computer schedules shifts using what is called customer-based scheduling, which is supposed to serve the customer's needs. However, each shift is woefully understaffed, forcing customers to wait in long lines and not able to find help on the floor, ultimately leading customers, already burdened with their own life struggles and feeling powerless in their own way, to blow up on the 1 or 2 employees they do come in contact with. Customer-based scheduling serves not the customer, but the profit margin. It is rare for an employee to get 2 days off in a row. Late night shifts are scheduled back to back with early morning shifts, depriving employees of a decent night's sleep. Mid shifts are scheduled until about 7 o'clock, disrupting any sort of family dinners. Requested vacation days go unheeded and scheduled over, disrupting planned vacations and doctor's appointments. Health insurance is available, but the employee percentage is high enough to be considered a financial burden rather than a benefit. Unionizing is unofficially grounds for dismissal. Joe works at one of those big box stores in town. It is not important which one. What matters is the organizational structure of the companies where people's inherent worth and dignity is unacknowledged. The corporations are set up to create a vicious working environment where employees are treated as disposable workers, their worth only seen in how hard they can be worked for the least amount of money. The primary question is how much money can the company make off them? Employees' dignity means nothing to the corporation. And this continued abuse on the employees by the corporations is done to erode people's internal knowledge of their inherent worth and dignity. The more worthless workers feel, the less empowered they will feel to change the abusive systems. Workers come to assume that this is all they deserve and all they will ever deserve. Even when they quit the big box store and head over to one of the fast food restaurants, they're treated the same way. The systematic erosion of a person's self-worth through terrible working conditions, long hours, long wages, with health insurance tied to employment, creates people too tired and too sick to revolt or resist. There are some among us who might cynically call this late-stage capitalism, a phrase that I only just began seeing on Facebook a couple of years ago. Wikipedia tells us that late-stage capitalism has become a catch-all term for various phenomena that expresses capitalism's distortions of human life that emerges out of a devolving system. Interestingly, the social media usage of late-stage capitalism also seems to imply the negative aspects of capitalism expressed in the book Keywords in Radical Philosophy and Education, Common Concepts for Contemporary Movements, edited by Derek Ford, which says, capitalism at its orthodoxy is a system that relies on authoritative, controlling, and exploitive relationships, most notably between that of capitalists and workers. It is these exploitive relationships, the distortion of human life from human being to human doing, imposed by corporate structures, and the relentless drive for maximum profit, and the othering of people, certain types of people, who we are programmed to think do not have as much worth as others, do not deserve to be treated with dignity, who have been taught to fear, feel superior to, or pity. These are all what the first principle of Unitarian Universalism looks to address. It is exploitive relationships, the distortion of human life, and the othering of people that the first principle looks to address. The first principle of Unitarian Universalism says, we, the member congregations, covenant to affirm and uphold the inherent worth and dignity of every person. The principle looks both to our personal relationships and interactions with each other and all people, and also to the larger societal relationships within which our society is maintained. Sometimes Unitarian Universalists simplify the first principle by saying, we believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person. However, when we say we believe the principle, it becomes something that is done. It is finished. We believe it, and we're on to the next thing. The principle is not meant to be a passive statement of belief. It is a call to action, a call to affirm and promote, a call to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. The principle asks not only about each of our personal relationships with others, but calls us to confront systems that work to subjugate people's humanity. The principle is not only about how we treat each other and those we consider our friends and those who challenge us. It calls us to act in the world. In some ways, we have an uphill battle with this call to action. Our religious ancestors, the Puritans who settled in the Massachusetts Bay Colony in the 1600s, believed in predestination. This theology proposed that at the moment of creation, God made a judgment on all souls that would ever come to be. Some souls were destined to go to heaven, while other souls were destined to go to hell. There was nothing anyone could do about this. It was just the way it was. Our religious ancestors believed that some people were good and some people were bad, some worthy and some not. This belief system remained in what would become Unitarian churches until the 1800s, when ministers and lay leaders began to reject the earlier ideas of predestination and of a judging and wrathful God. Our Universalist ancestors had already proclaimed a loving God, and though predestined, all people were destined to go to heaven. Unitarian Universalists today hold a vast array of beliefs that guide how we live our lives. And though we no longer believe in the harsher forms of predestination, it is important to remember our heritage. It is only by knowing the past that we can consciously choose how we want to live in the present and in the future. Our Unitarian and Universalist histories, former beliefs, and former actions led this faith to develop the first principle. It is a conscious choice in response to our past to commit ourselves to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Unfortunately, that idea, the idea that some people are better than others, are more or less worthy, is seeped in the air that we breathe and did not go away when the Unitarians and the Universalists proclaimed a new way. Our Unitarian Universalist faith requires that we uphold the inherent worth and dignity of every person in our personal lives and to combat systems that set up to undermine an individual's self-worth and dignity. The questions the first principle puts before us begin close within with a personal question. How will I affirm my inherent worth and uphold my dignity today? What small change will I make today to advocate for myself? Or what will I do to shift those ingrained messages of unworthiness that I try to hide deep inside? Then the questions expand to our relationships and interactions with our families, our friends, and every person. We might ask, how will I live my life today to uphold the inherent worth and dignity of those I encounter? But more challenging, and possibly more important, the question is, what will I do when I cross paths with someone who challenges my ability to uphold their inherent worth and treat them with dignity? And then we are called to respond to questions as a congregation. We ask, what can we do together to advocate for the people in our communities who may not know or may have forgotten or have been denied their inherent worthiness? We are called to three types of questions to guide us through the first principle of Unitarian Universalism: a personal connection. How will I affirm my inherent worth and uphold my dignity? An interpersonal question: how will I live my life to uphold the inherent worth and dignity of those I encounter, including those I am challenged by? And then third, a communal question: what can the congregation do together to build and maintain systems that treat all people with dignity and affirm their inherent worth? Three types of questions: internal, relational, and communal. Returning to the opening story, the day when a customer in a big box store swore at and threatened an employee, may we all be like the other customer and the other employee who disrupted that incident, recognizing that someone's worth was being questioned. May we all be that person who disrupts injustice in the moment. May we all work to prevent, unjust systems from continuing. May we move us into the future that we believe in and imagine. May it be so.